Hello, Malma Angeles. Welcome to ASEAN and Focus. We're coming to you live from Manila and Vietnam. Hello, Ralph.
Hello, I'm Ralph Wando Empire from your EBC Vietnam Bureau, bringing you the news in the dynamic ASEAN region.
On today's headlines, some Filipinos in New York and surrounding areas were among those affected by the massive flash floods brought by Hurricane Ida's remnants, according to the Philippine Consulate General in New York.
A virtual ceremony was held on the 76th National Day celebration of Vietnam.
And the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Monroe, or WMSL 755, arrived in Subic Bay, Philippines, following operations and exercises in the West Philippine Sea with the Philippine Coast Guard and the Philippine Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources. Randolph Empire. EBC correspondent Ralph Randolph Empire will take us to one of Vietnam's hidden gem destinations. First in our news, some Filipinos in New York and surrounding areas were among those affected by the massive flash floods brought by Hurricane Ida's remnants, according to the Philippine Consulate General in New York today. Take a look. The Philippine Consulate General in New York is deeply saddened that a number of kababayans were affected by last night's flash floods in New York and surrounding areas. We have been informed that some members of the Filipino community suffered damage to their homes and vehicles, according to their statement. Though some Filipinos suffered damage to homes and vehicles, there were no casualties reported. Consul General Elmer Cato said the consulate staff had been reaching out to leaders of the Filipino community to determine the impact of the flooding on Filipinos in the affected areas and advise those who may need assistance to reach out. At least 41 people were reported killed in Ida's remnants on Thursday, unleashed massive flooding and heavy rains across the northeastern United States.
In Vietnam, leaders in Da Nang are calling for stronger measures to break the chains of transmission in high-risk areas, as the leaders announced that some will reopen after September 5. Live with us today is Eliana Faith Sebastian. Hi there, Eliana.
Hello, Ralph. Yes, that is right. And here are the latest updates on COVID-19 from Da Nang today, an e-newspaper here in Vietnam. Stronger measures are needed to be imposed to lessen transmissions in high-risk areas like alleys and apartment buildings across the city, says both Da Nang Party Committee Secretary Nguyen Van Quang and Municipal People's Committee Chairman Le Trung Chin on Thursday afternoon. According to Mr. Quang, Da Nang's COVID cases touched the double-digit mark for the second straight day on Thursday, September 2. However, the risk remains high. The Da Nang Party chief highlighted the importance of conducting inspection visits by the health agency to designated quarantine facilities across the city, as there has been an increasing number of infected patients who have already completed their compulsory quarantine period and still tested positive for COVID-19 subsequently. There is a need for stricter measures in lockdown areas, especially in alleys and apartment buildings, as soon as possible, stated Secretary Quang. He emphasized that as social distancing regulations may be difficult to monitor in crowded alleys, residents from these high-risk areas must be evacuated. Da Nang's top leader urges district leaders to do all necessary actions to break off the cases in red zones and from spreading these cases to yellow and green zones. Mr. Quang asked the health agency to conduct COVID-19 vaccinations following fast and safe practices, and to set up more vaccination sites so that they can accelerate the city's COVID-19 vaccination program for all eligible people across the city. Mr. Chin revealed that the municipal administration will reopen some activities after September 5 as the city begins to slightly ease its COVID-19 restrictions. He called for the need of enhanced surveillance and increased controls at residential settings. Back to you, Rolf.
All right, thanks for that, Eliana. Thank you for your updates. Let's hope for the best here in Vietnam. Enjoy your long weekend, Eliana.
Thank you, Ralph, reporting live from Da Nang, Vietnam. I would also like to greet our Vietnamese friends. Happy National Day. This is Eliana Faith Sebastian, and we live in interesting times.
Vietnam is celebrating its National Day. A virtual ceremony was held on the 76th National Day celebration of the country. Here's Micah Gwinnett Apostle from our EBC Vietnam Bureau. Hi there, Micah.
Hi, Ralph. Here's the update from Vietnam. The 76th National Day celebration of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam from September 2, 1945 up until now, that is September 2, 2021, was held virtually on Wednesday morning by Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh. Over the 76 years past, the party, state, and people of Vietnam had actively strived to protect independence, sovereignty, unity, territorial integrity, national self-determination, and the freedom and happiness for the people. In the spirit of nothing is more than precious than independence and freedom, Prime Minister Pham Minh Chinh said at the event. He proudly stated that the size and power of Vietnam's economy were rising from a poor, less developed country to a middle-income developing country. The United Nations recognized Vietnam as one of the leading countries in realizing the Millennium Development Goals, especially on poverty reduction, gender equality, healthcare, and education. The party has grown stronger and purer. The leadership and militancy of party organs and members are also on the increase. The socialist rule of law state of, by, and for the people is constantly reinforced. As of today, Vietnam is a nation of nearly 100 million people enjoying per capita income over $3,500. The Prime Minister noted that the emergence and outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic over the last 2 years caused great damage to all countries across different areas, especially the life, health, and livelihood of the people. It has brought about a global economic recession, causing unemployment, poverty, inequality, and insecurity to rise. The participation of the entire political system under the leadership of the Communist Party of Vietnam and through the unyielding system, will, and spirit of the entire nation, Vietnam has been making a coordinated effort to fulfill two key objectives. First is to fight the pandemic effectively, and second is to foster socio-economic recovery and development growth while securing social security and safety for the people. He used the occasion to express his sympathy, empathy, and condolence for the hardship and losses that the other countries and people have suffered due to the pandemic, and thanked the international community for the cooperation and active and effective assistance given to Vietnam. He added that it was important that countries continue to work even more closely and cohesively together and form greater unity in the common effort to beat back the pandemic. Conveying the international community, the Prime Minister said, "We hope to receive your assistance and sharing of technology, experience, financing, medical supplies, equipment, and bioproducts, treatment, drugs, and especially vaccines as soon, as much, and as early as possible. The best vaccine is the earliest given." In the future, Chin said the government of Vietnam would firmly follow its consistent foreign policy of independence, self-reliance, multilateralization, diversification, and actively engage in intensive and extensive international integration. Back to you, Ralph.
Thank you, Michael, for your updates. But before I let you go, I want to say that you look prettier in your Aozai outfit. Stay safe and healthy.
Thank you so much, Ralph. And again, happy National Day to Vietnam. Reporting live from Da Nang, Vietnam, this is Micah Gwinnett Apostle. We live in interesting times.
A report from the Bangkok Post says controversy is flaring up over a political deal to unseat Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha after some MPs from smaller parties in the government coalition confirmed the plot exists. Here's Jomal Baldo to tell us more. Hi there, Jomal.
Yes, that is correct, Ralph. Speculation over a political deal to oust the Thailand Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha is intensified after some members of the parliament or MPs from smaller parties in the government coalition confirmed the plan. New New Palangdharma party leader Rawi Machamadon said small parties like theirs are a key factor in the current political situation, confirming that a report about key figures in the ruling Palang Prayajat Party or the PPRP and the opposition Pheu Thai having struck a deal to vote against General Prayun has exist. He added that if the small parties join the opposition in voting against the Prime Minister, they would garner about 212 votes, enough number to unseat the Chief Master of State. He also mentioned that a new Prime Minister is unlikely to be chosen from a list of current prime ministerial candidates submitted by parties, paving way to an outsider to be elected once the unseating succeeds. It is important that the outsider is granted the support from the PPRP and Pheu Thai first, since the two parties have 250 votes combined before gathering support from smaller parties, Mr. Rawi explained. The government faced a grilling from the opposition during a 4-day no confidence debate that started on Tuesday, with votes to be casted tomorrow, Saturday. The debate targets the Prime Minister and 5 cabinet ministers. During the debate on Thursday, Wisarn Titadjatiriwat, the Pheu Thai MP for Chiang Mai, accused General Prayut of paying 5 million baht to some MPs in his room in exchange for votes of support. This was quickly denied by Wirakorn Krakop, a PPRP MP for Nakorn Sawan, saying he did not take any amount and the accusation is an insult. He exclaimed that receiving money in such premises is an utter nonsense. General Prayut himself yesterday denied the allegation, saying he will not do such thing and that MPs only come to greet him. According to sources, the move to topple General Prayut was initiated this week and involves PPRP officials, the party secretary general, and some renegade members of the ruling party, as well as coalition of micro-parties and politicians in the main opposition, Pheu Thai party. They colluded to form a plan to cast no confidence votes against General Prayut. After the first day of debate, a rumor regarding the initiations to remove General Prayut from power intensified when political observers noticed that General Prayut was subjected to fierce attacks from oppositions, and then the government MPs did not do enough to defend him as in usual no-confidence debates. This led to a report about a House dissolution and a shift in the political alliance after the debate. As a result, General Prayut had to quash the rumor, insisting he would stay on until the coalition government completes its 4-year term in 2023. Back to you, Ralph.
All right, thanks for that, Jomro. Thank you for your updates. Please keep them coming. Stay safe and healthy.
Thanks to Ralph. Reporting live from Bangkok, Thailand, I am Jomro Bondadbaldo. We live in interesting times.
Health experts in Malaysia are urging parents to have children inoculated as soon as the rollout of vaccines begin for teens aged 12 to 17. For that report, here's Alfred Balmes joining us live. Hi there, Alfred.
Hi, Ralph. Good afternoon. Malaysia COVID-19 cases and deaths surging among the young. Health experts are urging parents not to delay inoculating their children when the rollout begins this month for those aged 12 to 17. University Malaya Public Medicine Specialist Professor Dr. Victor Ho said, as a new research had shown that the COVID-19 vaccine were safe for children, the aim should be to vaccinate as many people in the population as possible. When the vaccines were still new, their safety for the younger population had not been assessed. He added, new studies have shown that the vaccines are safe for them, so we should start vaccinating them. Infection rates among children remain an issue of concern, especially when the school set to reopen on October 3. The health minister revealed that the infection rates among children is at 310,074 cases as of August 30, compared to 12,620 cases last year. A total of 47 adolescents aged under 18 have died from COVID-19, of which 41 occurred this year. Dr. Victor added that the vaccinating adolescents was vital, as some can get severe forms of COVID-19 and need to be admitted to hospital. Vaccinated young ones will ensure protection for them and others, and this will allow them to go back to school with less risk of getting severe ill. According to Dr. Victor, if parents are still in doubt, they should discuss with their family doctors, general practitioner, or pediatrician. Health Minister Khairi Hamaludin had said vaccinations are targeted to begin for 12 to 17 years old this month once sufficient vaccination coverage for adults is achieved. He added that the adolescent vaccination will be prioritized for those with comorbidities and will start with 16 to 17 years old before moving to the younger age groups. The National Pharmaceutical Regulatory Agency had earlier approved the Pfizer vaccine for those aged 12 years and above. A circular signed by Health Minister Director General Tan Sri Dr. Noor Hisham Abdullah also stated that the vaccination initiative for the age group would be conducted at hospital and medical centers as well as outreach program in school. The Association of Private Hospital Malaysia yesterday expressed their openness to help vaccinate adolescents at private hospital. International Islamic University Malaya Public Health Medicine Specialist Assistant Professor Dr. Muhammad Farhan Rasli said, as immunization rates among adults ramp up, it's timely to expand the vaccine recipients to include adolescents. The groups need to vaccinate due to their social interaction, learning, and physical activities requiring them to be protected. He gave the example of Ireland, which set to lift all restrictions after encouraging vaccination rates among the adults and like. He added that while there were reported instances of heart inflammation, there was even greater risk of not vaccinating children. It is similar to when we're concerned with blood clots with AstraZeneca, but we must always weigh the risk against the benefit. He said as there are more reports, especially from US, which show the shift of COVID-19 cases being concentrated among the young, we must step up our vaccination drive to get many immunized. Earlier this year, the COVID-19 immunization task force put vaccination for those aged 17 and below on hold due to increased reports of myocarditis and pericarditis. However, other countries have gone ahead to pro vaccine for adolescents as the number of such reports have remained small. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration approved the Pfizer vaccine for children aged 12 to 15 in May, having allowed vaccination for those aged 16 and older last year. It reviewed a study with over 2,266 participants aged 12 to 15, in which half received the vaccine while another half received a placebo. A week later, it was found that there were no COVID-19 cases among the children who got the vaccine, while 16 cases were found among the given the placebo. Back to you, Lar.
Thank you for your time and updates, Alfred. Please keep us always updated with the COVID situation there in Malaysia. Stay safe and healthy.
Thank you and happy National Day there for you in Vietnam. Live from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, this is Alfred Balmes. We live in interesting time.
Meanwhile, hundreds of red shirts protesters gathered in downtown Bangkok as the Prime Minister General Prayut Chan-o-cha battles a no-confidence debate in Parliament. Various anti-government protesters have expressed their anger at the government's handling of the pandemic and demand the resignation of the former coup leader. The sluggish rollout of Thailand's vaccination program and financial pain from restrictions is heaping political pressure on the Prime Minister, on the Prime Minister's government. Last year, a youth-led pro-democracy protest movement began in Thailand that, at its peak, drew tens of thousands of people to rallies demanding the resignation of Prayut, the former army chief who came to power in a 2014 coup. But the movement lost momentum earlier this year as COVID-19 cases surged and its leaders were detained.
Foreign Affairs Secretary Teodoro Locsin Jr. said on Tuesday the Philippines will be accepting Afghan asylum seekers fleeing from the Taliban takeover only under a government-to-government basis. During the House Appropriations Committee's deliberation on the proposed 2022 budget of the Department of Foreign Affairs, Locsin assured that the Philippines will continue to extend assistance to asylum seekers and refugees from Afghanistan. It said in a statement that on asylum seekers and refugees, the Philippines will continue to extend assistance in line with its long tradition of timely and responsive humanitarian action. I cannot say more. The situation is fluid, to put it mildly, unquote, Locsin said. Locsin, however, emphasized that it will not accept asylum requests coming from non-government organizations and the private sector. Locsin noted that there are only 24 Filipinos remaining in Kabul as of August 30, with 8 requesting repatriation and 16 signifying their desire to remain. He said a total of 187 Filipinos have been evacuated since the Taliban seized the capital.
And we'll take a short break. Ralph and I will be back right after this.
Hindi ka na mauulit sa latest at what's trending kada umaga.
Iba't ibang sakuna at kalamidad ang nararanasan ng bansa. Kapag may banta ng panganib, kailangang maging alerto at kung kailangang lumikas ay magtungo sa ligtas na lugar. Bilang paghahanda sa mga ganitong pagkakataon, mahalaga na may gobag na dadalhin ang pamilya. Narito ang dapat na nilalaman ng gobag ng isang pamilyang handa. Mahalagang dokumento sa selyadong lalagyan, flashlight, kandila, posporo at silbato, radyo na may bago at ekstrang baterya, first aid kit kasama ang panlunas sa lagnat, LBM, sugat at iba pa. Ang mga gamot na regular na iniinom ng pamilya. Magagamit para sa mga sanggol, bata, matatanda at may kapansanan, pera at mga barya. Pagkain na madaling ihanda, di na kailangang lutuin at sapat para sa 3 araw. Inuming tubig sa saradong lalagyan at sapat para sa 3 araw. Telepono, power bank at charger. Lubid, lumang dyaryo, matitibay na lalagyan, damit, kapote, bota at mga sanitary supplies, sleeping bag o banig at mga kumot. Suriin ang mga laman ng gobag kada 3 buwan at palitan ang mga laman nito na malapit ng masira. Ilagay ang gobag sa lugar na madali itong makita at makuha sa oras ng sakuna.
Sila ang mga kinikilalang bayaning may mahalagang papel para makamit ang kalayaan at pagbabago sa Pilipinas. Pero sa panahong ito, may mga bagong bayaning nakikipaglaban sa sakit na lumaganap sa buong daigdig, ang COVID-19. Ang ating mga frontliner, gaya ng healthcare workers, mga doktor, nurses, medical technologists, at iba pang health professionals, mga pulis, sundalo, security guards, mga tauhan na nangangalaga sa seguridad at mahahalagang pangangailangan ng bawat komunidad. Ang mga bagong bayani, ating pasalamatan, kilalanin ang kanilang sakripisyo at serbisyo para sa lahat.
Hello there. Imagine Dami got the virus, and she infected 2 more. And those 2 infected a lot more of people. And it goes on and on until it became an epidemic. But what if Dami stayed at home? Then those 2 wouldn't have contracted the virus. Then those people would have not been infected. This is not just your battle, it's everyone's, and you can be a huge help. Follow social distancing, or better yet, stay at home.
Welcome back. The Taliban may reimpose its more extremist ideas and try to stop Afghans from leaving after the U.S. completed its withdrawal. That according to a Singaporean analyst. Let's listen in.
Afghanistan's link to the world is incredibly important because, it is incredibly aid dependent, and that aid comes from foreign countries, and managers and other people need to oversee the delivery of that aid. And they're the ones who are really going to be using this airport. Otherwise, you have to use very complicated land links through very dangerous parts and remote parts of the country to try to get to the capital. So it's very important that Kabul airport is opened up again to help the Afghan economy get moving. And we don't really know what's going to happen next. Sort of as the media's glare slowly pulls back from Afghanistan and it sort of moves down the ranks of, issues in the news order, I think you'll start to see them starting to reimpose some of the more extremist. I think you're going to start to see a real emphasis being put by the government on trying to figure out ways of, through either coercion or, or intimidation of some sort, to try to get people to stay. Because I think a lot of the people who are probably leaving are, the managerial class, the kind of people who actually help run the country. And if the Taliban doesn't have any of those people left, they're going to really struggle to rebuild the national. You can see that the organization probably hasn't shed many of its fundamental ideas and will continue to be pretty, fundamentalist in its outlook. But at the same time is being pushed by the pragmatic necessities of governance to actually trying to, figure out some sort of political accommodation. So at the moment, we don't really know much more than we knew before, frankly. But I think what we can see is an organization edging forwards, trying to figure out how it is going to rule the country. Context, if we continue to see a lot of people congregating around Kabul airport, if we continue to see internationals occasionally appearing there and potentially even seeing flights, I think the Islamic State will have an invested interest in trying to attack it once again, because if the airport does get moving again, it will be the beginning of some sort of recognition that the Taliban are able to govern the country. And the IS will want to continue to undermine the Taliban's authority. And so targeting the airport would continue to make sense. Having said that, there are many other targets that the Islamic State could try to go for. So it's not clear to me that the airport will be the same kind of a obvious target or most obvious target than that we had previously when you had the sort of glare of international media on it. Now I think you'll see a more diffuse threat picture from the Islamic State in particular in Afghanistan.
The U.S. Coast Guard cutter Monroe, WMSL 755, arrived in Subic Bay, Philippines, Tuesday, following operations and exercises in the West Philippine Sea with the Philippine Coast Guard and the Philippine Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources. Let's take a look. Monroe's crew participated in bilateral operations, professional exchanges, search and rescue and communication exercises, small boat operations, multi-vessel maneuvering, and maritime domain awareness drills while at sea. And I quote in a statement, as the maritime security challenges in the Indo-Pacific region become increasingly complex, partnering with our Philippine Coast Guard and fisheries counterparts is vital to our shared interest in a free and open maritime environment, unquote, said Monroe's commanding officer, Captain Blake Novak. We thoroughly enjoyed our Philippine hosts, professionalism, and hospitality, and we look forward to future bilateral operations to further our long-standing relationship. The search and rescue exercise simulated the agency's bilateral response to a vessel in distress. During the exercise, the Monroe PCG and BFAR practice searching for the distressed vessel, shipboard firefighting techniques, and recovering and treating persons in the water. As part of the exercise, members of the PCG joined USCG members aboard Munro as they launched the cutter's small unmanned aircraft system to aid in the search and rescue response. The day's exercises and operations provided opportunities for each involved agency to learn from each other. This story is from the U.S. Coast Guard Public Affairs.
Meanwhile, the armed forces said a Philippine aircraft carrying soldiers crashed in July after an unrecoverable stall, killing more than 50 people and one of the country's worst military air disasters. The C-130 Hercules transport plane was loaded with nearly 100 people, most of them fresh Army graduates, when it overshot the runway while trying to land on the southern island of Jolo in Sulu province. Most of the dead were soldiers being deployed to the island, a haven for Islamist militants. As part of a counter-insurgency effort, dozens were injured. Based on the investigating team's report, no single factor can be attributed to have exclusively caused the accident, according to the Armed Forces of the Philippines in a statement. The aircraft component, the environmental condition, and aircrew response led to an unrecoverable stall in a critical phase of the aircraft operation, it also said, without providing details. Armed Forces spokesman Colonel Ramon Zagala told AFP a component failure triggered a light that caused the pilots to concentrate on that instead of recovering the stall or doing the turnaround. The plane stalled after losing thrust and lift at low altitude. Usually, you can recover a stall if you have altitude, if you're up or if you're way up, but in this case, it doesn't have altitude, according to Zagala, without specifying which part of the aircraft failed. National Defense Delfin Lorenzana told a congressional committee hearing he had been informed the crash was caused by a confluence of many events, and they included defective instruments or systems, plus, of course, the reaction of the pilot was not also appropriate for the emergency, he said Wednesday. The military said previously the C-130 was in very good condition when it crashed in sunny weather. Witnesses and survivors told investigators shortly after the crash that the plane landed hard and then bounced twice before taking off again, according to Lieutenant General Corleto Vinluan, then chief of the Western Mindanao Command, told AFP days after the crash. Then at the right side of the airport, it hit a tree. And that's the account of the injured, according to Vinluan. At least 3 civilians who were not on the flight were also killed as the plane plowed through coconut trees and houses. C-130s have been the workhorses of air forces around the world for decades, used to transport troops, supplies, and vehicles.
Soldiers and military personnel from Vietnam, Russia, and 6 other countries take part in Sniper Frontier, an emergency area competition rounds of the Russian Defense Ministry's 2021 International Army Games on the outskirts of Hanoi. The Army Games is being co-hosted by 11 countries this year, but it is the first time that Vietnam, with strong ties with Russia, has hosted competitions of the Army Games. According to Vietnam News, after the opening of the Army Games 2021 in Hanoi, Rear Admiral Subotin Andrei Nikolaevich from the Russian Ministry of Defense talked with the Vietnamese media about the event. He said that in the face of the complicated situation of the COVID-19 epidemic, in a short time, Vietnam has overcome difficulties and prepared the training ground well to meet the standards set by the organizing board in Russia. On behalf of the organizing committee of the Russian Federation, the Rear Admiral congratulated the participating teams. Nikolaevich emphasized that the main goal of the event is to strengthen relations between the Army and the Ministry of Defense of Russia and Vietnam.
The Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology, or PHIVOLCS, updated its earthquake bulletin on Thursday night, saying Aftershocks and damage are possible from the magnitude 5 quake that hit Biliran province. Earlier, FIVOC said both aftershocks and damage are unlikely from the magnitude 4.9 earthquake. However, it updated the bulletin at 8:07 p.m. and also corrected that it was a magnitude 5 earthquake. The tectonic quake struck 6 kilometers northwest of the municipality of Biliran around 3:23 p.m. and had a depth of 5 kilometers. Intensity 5 was felt in Biliran, Naval, Almeria, and Kabukgayan, Biliran, while intensity 4 was reported in Kulaba, Kaibiran, and Kawayan, Biliran, Kalubian, and Leyte. Intensity 3 was recorded in Maripipi, Biliran, Ormoc City, Capuocan, Carigara, Isabel, and Canaga, Leyte, and intensity 2 in Palo and Haro, Leyte, Cebu City, Masbate City. FIVOX also recorded the following instrumental intensities, which is intensity 6 in Naval, Biliran, intensity 3 in Carigara, Leyte, intensity 2, Palo, and Alangalang, intensity 1, Abuyog, Leyte, Catbalogan City, and Samar. Reported intensity is the traditional way of knowing the intensity based on reports by people who felt the earthquake, while instrumental intensity is measured using intensity meter that measures ground acceleration.
Bamboo poles, bottle crates, ladders, and broken chairs, everyday objects from 4 makeshift barricades on Hanoi Street as authorities try to slow the spread of coronavirus. Vietnam's capital has been in lockdown for more than a month, but with daily case numbers refusing to budge, restrictions on movement have become even tighter.
Đúng, từ bé bây giờ anh là năm nay cũng 47 tuổi nhưng chưa bao giờ bị thấy phong tỏa và chốt như này. Thì nó ảnh hưởng rất lớn cũng đến sinh hoạt. Nhưng mà vì là chống dịch chung của thành phố thì mọi người để an toàn thì cũng nên.
The city is now divided into tiny segments with movement between each extremely difficult. All alleys leading to Ain's home have been blocked, with no one allowed in or out after virus cases were discovered in the area. Once every 3 days, her family brings her food, dropping it at the foot of the steel barriers that encircle her neighborhood. In some parts of the city, the barricades are cobbled together by volunteers. Although Hanoi's case numbers remain relatively steady, with the city recording between 50 and 100 cases each day, there is huge anxiety over the escalating crisis down south in Ho Chi Minh City. The commercial hub is reporting thousands of new infections and hundreds of deaths a day, and Hanoi residents fear the same fate for their city.
In Thailand, the CCSA has eased COVID restrictions on certain businesses and activities, including restaurants, shopping malls, beauty salons, massage parlors, in 29 dark red zones starting September 1. Let's listen in.
The CCSA has also eased restrictions on certain businesses and activities, including restaurants, shopping malls, beauty salons, massage parlors, and parks, in the 29 dark red zones starting from the 1st of September, which will be this Wednesday. And you have an infographic there from NBT. So indoor, air-conditioned restaurants will be allowed to resume dine-in services at 50% capacity, while those without air conditioning can resume dine-in services at 75% capacity. And malls, shopping centers, community malls, convenience stores, and similar establishments will be able to be open until 8 p.m. And beauty salons, barber shops, massage shops will be permitted to open, but massage shops may only provide foot massages. Parks, sports fields, and outdoor exercise places can open on the 1st of September, and all venues must implement the highest COVID-19 prevention measures. I'm sure that many of you, the English language audience, have been waiting for these lifting of restrictions, which will be effective on the 1st of September, including parks, including malls as well. The curfew, however, remains between 9 p.m. to 4 a.m., while tutoring schools, cinemas, spas, amusement parks, fitness centers, swimming pools, and convention centers will remain closed. So please note that the curfew would remain in the month of September during 9 p.m. to 4 a.m. in the dark red zone provinces, which includes Bangkok.
The family of U.S. journalist Danny Fenster appealed on Tuesday for his release by Myanmar authorities as they mark his 100th day of imprisonment by the Yangon military regime. Fenster is believed to have contracted COVID-19 during his detention, family members said during a conference call with American journalists. He appeared to be suffering from brain fog and a loss of taste and smell during his last call with family members, August 1, but had not been tested. His mother, Rose Fenster, said. His mother said there has been only limited communication with him in Myanmar, even as efforts are made by the U.S. Embassy and others to secure his freedom. The managing editor of the Frontier Myanmar News outlet, Fenster has been under investigation under a law criminalizing dissent that carries a maximum 3-year jail sentence. Danny's brother, Brian Fenster, added that the journalist was not an activist or even a working reporter, but someone who was sitting behind a desk. The journalist's father, Buddy Fenster, said he was optimistic about the prospects for his son's release.
China's Special Envoy for Asian Affairs has wrapped up an unannounced week-long visit to Myanmar that included discussions with its junta leader on the country's political future, according to Beijing. Myanmar has been in political chaos since the military ousted Aung San Suu Kyi's government in February, launching a bloody crackdown on dissent. International efforts to stem the violence have failed to yield results, with the European Union accusing junta leaders Russia and China, or junta allies rather, Russia and China of blocking efforts at the UN Security Council to impose an arms embargo. Special Envoy Sun Guai-Chang met junta leader Min Aung Hlaing and exchanged views on the political landscape in Myanmar, according to a statement released by Beijing's embassy in Myanmar. It said China supports Myanmar's efforts to restore social stability and resume democratic transformation at an early date. Beijing enjoys exceptional leverage over Myanmar and has so far refused to label the military action a coup. Myanmar is also a vital piece of Beijing's huge Belt and Road Infrastructure Initiative. Last year, Chinese President Xi Jinping visited the country and promised to support the Myanmar government on a development path suited to its own national conditions.
An autistic teenage boy detained for 2 months in Cambodia over messages he sent on Telegram, allegedly insulting officials, should be released immediately, UN experts said on Thursday. Kak Sovan Chai, 16, the son of 2 opposition figures, was arrested in late June and faces up to 2 years in jail if convicted. Special Rapporteur on the human rights situation in Cambodia, Vitit Montarborn, and 3 other UN experts said the teenager had been interrogated without a lawyer or guardian. Montarborn said children with disabilities accused of breaking the law should be treated in line with the best of interests of the child, and every effort should be made to keep them out of jail. The boy's father, a former member of the dissolved Cambodian National Rescue Party, has been in jail since June last year. He is among more than 150 opposition figures facing a closed-door trial for allegedly agitating for the toppling of the ruling party, which is led by Prime Minister Hun Sen. Strongman Hun Sen is one of the world's largest serving leaders and has been in power for 36 years, during which he has presided over the jailing of political opponents and a winding back of democratic freedoms. The autistic teenager's mother, activist Prum Chanta, 44 years old, said the family was in despair. She said Her son had only defended himself and his relatives in Telegram messages after being bullied by people who called him the son of a traitor.
In other news, Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas Governor Benjamin Diokno has recognized the contribution of Foreign Currency Deposit Unit or FCDU system in the country's economic recovery amid the pandemic. In an online briefing Thursday, Diokno said the country's FCDU system remains on a solid footing by maintaining asset quality and still reporting growth in deposits while remaining profitable despite the ongoing pandemic and economic crisis. The central bank chief said FCDU deposits rose by 3.2% year on year to $44.5 billion at end March 2021. Britain on Thursday announced sanctions against Myanmar businessman U Tai Za and his two-group in the latest action to target those funding the ruling military junta. Britain's Foreign Office described Tai Za as a key business associate of the junta, whose network of companies provided financial support and arms to the military. The move follows sanctions on senior Myanmar military officers and their businesses following February's military coup. The sanctions will freeze all British assets held by H2 Group and Tai Za and forbids the tycoon from entering the country. Britain said Tai Za was associated with the military through his extensive links with the former and current junta regimes. It accused him of providing support for serious human rights violations in his role in assisting the military to procure arms. Britain has already sanctioned the Myanmar Gems Enterprise, the Myanmar Economic Corporation, and another military-linked conglomerate called Myanmar Economic Holdings Limited.
The waters of the Baywalk area along Manila Bay can soon be free for swimming and other contact recreational activities. Measures for rehabilitating Manila Bay will continue, so the concentration of fecal coliform bacteria in Baywalk's waters can dip further and eventually meet the 100 most probable number per 100 milliliters, standard for accommodating such activities, noted Department of Environment and Natural Resources or DNR Secretary Roy Simatu.
Magagawa natin lahat ito by yung Baywalk will be by October this year, and hopefully we'll be able to go into the 100 standard coliform na pwede dyan sa lugar na yan by October.
In 2019, the government commenced rehabilitation of Manila Bay, so this historic water body can be fit again for contact recreation as ordered by the Supreme Court in 2018. Fecal coliform level there was around 1.26 billion mpn or 100 ml when the government decided to undertake the rehabilitation, Simatu noted. He, however, said fecal coliform level in Baywalk waters already dipped to some 7,000 mpn or 100 ml this August. Treatment of effluent discharging into Manila Bay significantly contributed to such improvement, said Manila Bay Coordinating Office Project Monitoring and Evaluation Officer Fran Serrano. Simado said the government plans to install a viewing deck in the beach area. Having such a deck will enable people to enjoy Manila Bay's world-famous sunset, he said. DNR said that the government is using crushed dolomite to create a white sand beach. Engineering interventions there will prevent erosion of the crushed dolomite. An uncertain fate awaits the hawkers, drivers, and rough sleepers who have made a second home under the ornate arch ceiling of Bangkok's century-old Central Railway Station. The elegant Italianate columns and stained glass windows of the station at Hua Lamphong will soon echo no more to the constant rattle of trains arriving and departing.
This station still be in mind of the Thai people. People always remember the train by recognize the Bangkok station. So when they open Bang Sue Grand Station, is the big station. It's the biggest station in Southeast Asia now. So many activity gonna start move to Bang Sue Grand Station, but Bangkok Station still keep as a museum by the purpose of the government. Government try to develop in that area. As I mentioned to you, they talk about connectivity with the bus, with other system. So it will be easy and convenient for passenger in the future. But people have to get used to that. Okay, main activity gonna move to Bang Sue Grand Station. It's a classic station. So I think people still remember of Bangkok Station, although the Bang Sue Grand Station is bigger, newer, more convenient, more comfortable. But this one also, the location and the architecture and the style, people still remember that in their mind and in their heart also.
สะดวกมากกว่าเยอะมันเป็นศูนย์กลางแล้วแหละค่ะถึงอยู่ใกล้ๆกันแต่ว่าเหมือนประหยัดค่ารถโดยสารนี้อะค่ะเช่นแท็กซี่ก็อาจจะประหยัดกว่าถ้าที่นี่นะคะ
The vast majority of services will move to a new rail hub on the capital's northern outskirts later this year, with plans for eventual fast services to China through neighboring Laos. The coronavirus pandemic has already bought a year's reprieve for the currency station near the city's Chinatown district. Its replacement is almost finished but currently being used as a vaccination center. But movement restrictions and a lack of foreign visitors have crippled the kingdom's tourism dependent economy, and the dozens of people eking out a living are already feeling the pinch. The long platforms and languid atmosphere of the Hua Lampong station have long imbued an element of romance to rail travel in Thailand. It was a crowning achievement for Italian architect Mario Tamagno, who worked extensively in Thailand at the turn of the century and whose blueprints drew inspiration from the Frankfurt Central Station in Germany, built near the end of the 19th century. At its pre-pandemic peak, the station handled 37 million passengers each year, according to the State Railway of Thailand. Authorities plan to turn the station into a train museum coupled with commercial space as a way to preserve the building's heritage.
And finally in our news, EBC correspondent Ralph Wandolph Empire, my good friend here, takes us to one of Vietnam's hidden gem destination. Let's find out more. Watch this.
Later. Vietnam is known for its bustling city, Hanoi and Saigon. Feel good food and cheap thrills. But did you know there's a hidden gem 5 hours away from Ho Chi Minh City? Come away with me as I take you to sand dunes of Mui Ne. Hey, it's 5:30. My driver arrived at 5:15 a.m. sharp. They told me we're gonna leave at exactly 5:20 a.m. so we could catch a sunrise. In my experience as a traveler, I am telling you this is the only time I woke up so early. I chose the morning tour because I prefer to see sunrise over sunset. I'm well prepared for this tour. Packed my bag with snacks and a bottle of water because for sure I would need this later. Let's go! Do you see that? It's beautiful. What a dazzling place. I'm so astounded by Mui Ne's beauty. I honestly didn't think it's actually more beautiful than the actual photos I've seen online. This place is riddled with natural attractions and water activities. Its stunning topography is a testament to the magical prowess of nature. Mui Ne is indeed one of the places in Vietnam that is a year-round destination. But if you ask me, the best months to visit are from October until November and April until May.
Now is the second part of my itinerary for today. Still in Muine, but this time it's the red sand dunes. Let's check this out.
The red and white sand dunes are the two wonders that Muine is known. Oh, and by the way, during the day, the sand can get quite hot, so it's best to visit in the early morning or late afternoon. Favorite activities at these attractions include sand sliding, kite flying, jeep riding, picnic, and photography. Stream is a beautiful piece of nature tucked between beaches and fishing villages with a stream surrounded by geological limestone formation. When you visit this place, you are encouraged to walk and dip your feet in the water and the sand. This is an ideal scenic photography attraction. It takes about an hour to reach the end of the stream, so you should bring lots of liquid to stay hydrated and wear comfortable clothing.
Think we're done? Not yet. Now I'm gonna take you to the fishing village. Let's go.
Welcome to the fishing village. A visit in this village brings you a fascinating exposure to the lives of the local fishermen. This area is a trading fish market, so if you want to pick up some fresh seafood, this is the place to go.
Xin chào. Xin chào. I hope you guys enjoy my virtual tour for you. Soon we will all travel again. From Muine, Vietnam, this is Ralph Wandel Empire. We live in interesting times.
That's the jet setter you are. You should bring me to one of your travels there.
I'm just waiting for you, Alma. And since you're fully vaccinated, you can come over here.
I am. But maybe soon. We'll see. Thank you, Ralph, for joining me today, and happy National Day.
Thank you, Alma. Before I go, I'd like to take this opportunity again to greet all Vietnamese around the world. Chúc mừng Quốc Khánh Vietnam. Happy National Day. Reporting live from Da Nang, Vietnam, I am Ralph Wandel Empire. We live in interesting times.
Have a fun and safe weekend, everyone. We'll see you back next week. I'm Alma Angeles, and we live in interesting times.